by default, any access control list entry you have will have a counter beside it. And every time that access control list is hit, that counter will increment. Now, does that generate any type of log message? No. No log messages are generated at that point. However, you do have the ability when creating your access control list to specify the log keyword. The log keyword allows syslog messages to be generated when the access control list entry is hit. Now, this can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. Why? Well, what you need to understand is that when you enable logging for an ACL, it can be very CPU intensive. Why? Because we have these system messages that are being generated. Who has to generate these system messages? Well, the CPU has to generate these system messages. So since the CPU is now involved with generating these messages for the packets that are flowing through, we're dealing with a process switching type of functionality now. That CPU has to analyze those packets. It has to generate that syslog message. So it can severely reduce the power of our router. That's right. It could grind the router to a halt if we're not careful with what we're logging. So if you log everything because you're like, oh, I need to keep track of it all, you could bring that router to a complete standstill. So keep that in mind. It's all these log messages that are being generated and having to be transmitted to the CPU and then displayed wherever they are, to the syslog server, to your console screen. That takes a lot of work. So I want you to remember this. Remember this. The access control logging is CPU intensive because of that process switching of the packets that match the log enabled ACEs. So when might be a good time to do this? Well, we commonly see the log keyword when we want to do some explicit denying. You know how there's an implicit deny all at the very end of an access control list? Well, if somebody matches that implicit deny all, are you going to get a log message? No. Are you even going to get a hit counter? No, you're not going to get a hit counter either because it's an implicit deny all and you don't see it. So what you do is you create your explicit deny IP any at the very end of your access control list. And when you create that explicit deny IP any entry, when you tack on that log keyword, you'll get those syslog messages generated for every hit that happens on this explicit deny. Now, why would you want to do that? You would want to do that because if somebody is, or some packet is making it all the way to that explicit deny entry, well, why? That means some user was trying to do something that they're not allowed to do. That is not normal behavior. So that log message is going to give us a lot of detailed information. For example, where the packet was coming from, where is it going to. So we'll have a better sense or a better idea of what was happening and why that log entry was hit. That explicit deny all was hit. This comes in handy for our management plane protection. So if you want to protect the VTY lines, you're going to set up an access control list and apply it with the access class command on the VTY lines. Well, in that access control list that you've applied, set up this explicit deny any entry and add the log keyword. And then you'll know if there's any devices trying to remotely manage your device when they shouldn't be.